Welcome to the Missouri Valley's Mobilizing Voices for Change. I'm Kelly Burke, and joining me today for this all-female edition is Missouri State head women's basketball coach Amaka Agugua-Hamitlon, Illinois State head women's basketball coach Kristen Gillespie, and Illinois State volleyball volunteer assistant coach Tiffane Jackson. Ladies, I am so excited to have you on this roundtable, and thank you all for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
All three of you played collegiate sports and your respective sport. As someone who now has been on both sides, as a student athlete and as a coach, how has being a female student athlete evolved from when you were playing? And Amaka, let's start with you.
Well, I think, women are starting to, I guess, gain more respect now. Obviously, I'm not saying back in the day they didn't. I just think that now it's just, our sport has grown, from the WNBA on down to collegiate levels and even just Division II, Division III. I just think that you're seeing more games televised. You're seeing more games. I think ESPN3 and ESPN Plus has really helped us because you can watch so many games. But, it's just more visible, way more visible. When I played mid-majors, you had like one or two TV games all year, where now, fans can watch every game if they want to, just because of technology and everything. So I think that that's helped grow our game. And then people have realized that, the women's game is exciting. It's always been exciting, but I just think that now that we can actually get our product out there, our fan base is growing.
Tiffane.
First and foremost, I just want to apologize to my coaches, just being on the other side. I apologize for all that I put you all through, but I agree with Coach with just the game is evolved so much. People really want to watch women's sports. I have two older brothers, and they're like, "When's your next volleyball match?" Like, I just watched, Florida. I just watched this, and these girls are amazing, and they're just amazed by the physicality of the sport and what us women are able to do. And I love it,
Kristen.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with both of these women. It's just, I think the role of social media too plays a big part. Everything is so instant. You can go on Twitter and see, different clips and everything. But I remember in '96 when I was at NC State, yes, I'm dating myself right now, but the Olympic team was making their rounds. We got to have an exhibition game with them, and I was just in awe, like Jennifer Azzi and, the players that I grew up, idolizing. I was getting to see them, firsthand. And, I think that's so different because it was so tough when I was growing up to find female athlete role models. You turn on TV, come from a sports family. My dad was a coach. We watched basketball all the time, but I loved Johnny Dawkins. I wanted to play for Duke men. I didn't know Duke women even had a team. But I remember Stanford, I saw them play and I saw Jennifer Azzi and I was just like, man, this is what I want to be. So, I think I'm just so fortunate that this generation of young girls get to grow up and have some better access to really strong female role models.
And side note, Kristen, I thought of you last week with the big NC State upset on the road at South Carolina.
That was awesome. I know Coach Yao was smiling down. I remember 2007, the last time NC State beat a number one ranked team with Duke in the ACC tournament. So brought back some great memories. But kudos to Coach Moore and the Wolfpack. They got it rolling.
With your own teams, given the events and the attention brought to race and social justice issues over the last 8 months, how have each of you encouraged your own student athletes' voices and their power to create change? And Tiffane, let's start with you.
Leah Johnson does a phenomenal job at giving everyone their voice, empowering everyone to just speak up and speak out and teaching. I think when everything started, she immediately was like, we need to talk about this. We need to learn about it. And just talking to the young ladies, I'm like, if you don't know, ask questions, research, read. I don't say look at the news too much, but, just make yourself aware of what's going on and speak up. Like, you have your voice, you're the future, use your voice. So that's what I tell the girls.
Kristen.
I have to agree. Leah's top notch. That's my girl right there. No, when everything happened at the end of May, you know, I think our whole world's, I know mine, and that's probably a really ignorant viewpoint, got turned upside down, because I know people of color in our country and in the world we live in, this is just another day, and it just hit differently. And I remember the day after George Floyd's murder, I called former athletes. I called Simone Goods and Katrina Beck and Brian Livingston. And I just wanted to know if they were okay. How were they feeling? And just ask about their experience, and I was, you know, I was kicking myself, like, why does it take something like this to make me ask these questions? And I got such great insight, and we had similar conversations with our team. And I knew before I could really dive in, I had a lot of inward, I had to educate myself. You know, I read everything I could get my hands on, and I still know that's not good enough. But for me to lead and for me to be able to have these conversations, I knew I had to educate myself. And I really encouraged our team to do the same. You know, everything is at your fingertips now. You know, there's some really great documentaries, there are great TED Talks. There's so many things. If you don't like to read, which I know a lot of our players do not. I've tried book clubs. They've gone, okay. There's different ways you can, you know, educate yourself. And just, you know, I wanted our women of color to be heard, and I wanted to hear their thoughts and make sure they knew that we were here for them. And it ignited a lot of really honest and tough conversations for all of our program. You know, some players are from some areas that are a little bit smaller, and, you know, they've really never been exposed to things like this. So it's a daily occurrence for us. We have to get better every single day. It's not something that's, you know, oh, it's season, we're putting this back. You know, we try to do something, we're really deliberate with our actions.
Amaka.
Yeah, you know, obviously I've talked about this a lot, especially here in my community of Springfield, which is historically a very conservative community. But we know, my family and I, we've always felt safe here. We've always, you know, everybody's welcomed us with open arms. But, you know, when the whole George Floyd thing happened, and, you know, I guess the country started, you know, I guess for lack of a better word, we were in this like modern day civil war, right? And either you were racist or you're not, plain and simple. You know, when all that stuff started happening, I obviously, like everybody else, we were quarantining, so I had to do it via Zoom, but met with our players. And my first thing was just to create a safe place and make sure there was like a no judgment zone, and which is who we are anyway. That's how our family's built here. And just make sure everybody could, you know, voice their opinions, their concerns, their experiences, their fears, whatever it was. And it was very powerful, actually, and had a lot of tears. You know, we had some players that obviously, you know, some that were not from diverse backgrounds or things like that, but obviously didn't have a prejudiced heart, but just didn't really relate with what was going on because it wasn't happening to anybody close to them. So they could turn on the TV and be like, oh, that's wrong. But it didn't really hit them until they started hearing their sisters and their coaches, mother figures, aunts, uncle figures, talking about our experiences, and it broke people down. So it was an educational session, but it was also just one that brought us closer as a team. And our players really wanted to do something about it, and just try and do more in the community to affect our own community that can maybe affect the next one and the next one and the next one. So, you know, we've done a lot in the community. I've done a lot of talking about this, but it's something that I feel like people have to have a lot of sensitivity with, and also not run from it. Like, because the truth, it sucks. And what African-Americans have been dealing with for centuries, it sucks. But there's so many differences that people don't even know. Like, even just when it comes to driving a car, like when I was being taught, you know, how to drive a car, I was also taught what to do if I got pulled over by police. You know, keep your hands on the steering wheels, roll down all the windows, you know, don't reach for anything, things like that, where some of our, you know, white brothers and sisters aren't taught that because you don't really encounter that, you know, and it's just a completely different, you know, scenario that we have to just live with. You know, I've been in places where I've been followed, even it doesn't matter. Even as a coach, I'm not even talking about as a kid. I've been in places where I've been followed in a grocery store or in a shop or in a shopping mall, whatever. I've been pulled over, just racially profiled many times in my life. And then they may figure out who I am or, whatever it is, but it happens. And it's something that it's almost like it's normal for us. It shouldn't be normal, but it is. So I just think people need to understand, and the education piece is the biggest piece of this, and not to get defensive, but to see like, how can we help and how can we just really focus on love rather than hate, and so that's just what we've been focusing on. And we've been doing a lot. I mean, we have a program called Lab, which is our Life After Ball life skills program. And we had one earlier this year because police brutality is real. And, you can't generalize, just like you can't generalize a race. You can't generalize a whole profession. But there are some bad cops. There's bad people in every profession. So I wanted to also make sure that now everybody is not scared of police officers, or just try to change the narrative a little bit. I think we have to have more communication with law enforcement, at a younger age, from elementary up, and then also with our players. So I had some police officers come in, and they happen to be female, because I'm always big on women empowerment too. And they came in with their, uniforms on and everything, and they talked to our players, and they talked specifically about women empowerment and just how to, how to face adversity and, conquer your fears and be successful in a male-dominated field. And it was very powerful, because we touched a little bit on the police brutality piece, but it was very powerful to see women police officers talking about just their experiences of even just trying to get pregnant and have kids and things like that, and being judged, and they're in police uniforms. So it changed the narrative a little bit. Oh, they're real people, and it's not just they're out to get, African Americans, or they're out to do this and do that. So my whole thing is just bridging the gap. That's my biggest thing. And within our program, I try to do as much as I can. In the community, I try to do as much as I can. But, I'm just super hopeful all around this time around, because I feel like not everybody, but more people that are not affected, as far as non-African Americans, are outraged. So I just feel like that's why we're seeing change as a nation as a whole. So I'm really optimistic about the future. I'm like actually happy of what I'm seeing. And not to get political, because I always tell our players, you can vote for any party, you can vote for. I never tell them who to vote for or anything like that. But when the vice president elect walked on the stage, I don't care who you're voting for women, period. That is a huge win for women. It's almost like we just arrived. Like we can do whatever we put our minds to. So that's what I told our players. And then it's an African American woman on top of that. So to me, that is a huge win for women all over the place. No matter if you're Republican, Democrat, whatever. So just little things like that. I feel like we're taking steps in the right direction. And I think it's just up to us to continue to educate our young people and then empower them so that they can be whatever they want to be in life.
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned Kamala Harris, because I remember watching on Twitter when she was out for a run, and you all three probably have seen this video, but she was on a run and she got the call that they had won, and just seeing her reaction on the phone, I mean, it gave me chills when she found out, okay, it's a done deal.
Exactly. Yep. I've seen the video as well, and it really is, honestly, it's just like and it's not a first lady, we actually have a woman that's representing our country in that seat. And that, to me, that's just unbelievable, and I just think that if that can happen, then women, whatever you want to do, you can definitely do it, period.
Absolutely.
The next question is for all three of you again. Just last week, Sarah Fuller, who is the Vanderbilt soccer player turned emergency football kicker for the Vanderbilt football team, she became the first woman to kick in a Power 5 football game. It was a big deal, yet amidst all the media attention, there were plenty of misogynistic comments. When the three of you see a faction of men trying to tear down women in sport, because this happens quite a bit, whether it's Sarah Fuller or other females in sports, what would you want those men to understand about their actions? And Amaka, let's start with you.
Well, first of all, even just before this whole pandemic, summer, racial stuff, I always tell our players, as a woman, you have a strike against you. And as a minority woman, you have 2 strikes against you. So you have to work that much harder to be heard, seen, and just to be successful. So there's always going to be people tearing you down. There's always going to be people that don't believe in you. And we're just kind of the bottom of the totem pole. That's just how it is, you know? And so that's why I'm so big on women empowerment. And when I saw that, you know, that she was going to be in a Power 5 football, well, first of all, I was like, I hope she doesn't get hurt, because those are some big guys out there. But, you know, with the position that she was playing, obviously there's a low chance of that. But I just thought that was amazing, you know, and I sent that, as soon as I saw it on social media, I sent it to our players. And again, it's just, you know, there's no ceilings with this stuff, you know. But as far as like just the men that are making those kind of comments and trying to degrade and demean, you know, something that's like a historical breakthrough for women, honestly, those kind of people, I try not to pay too much attention to them, right? I feel like we need to focus on love way more than hate, you know, and focus on, you know, just the positives of that situation. And so that's what I do with our players. Again, but I do let them know that's what's going to happen no matter what. We got kids that want to be doctors, kids that want to play pro, kids that want to be lawyers. Well, those are all male dominated fields, and you're going to be overlooked maybe a million times before you actually get to where you need to be or get the respect that you deserve. So I just think it's important to continue to put that in the forefront for them. I mean, in Hillary Clinton's book, she talks about how every woman has fears, every woman has self-doubt, self-conscious problems, all that stuff, you know. But how you work through that and overcome that is going to depend. I mean, it's going to dictate how successful you are. And I always talk to our players about that, because everybody has self-doubt and everybody has insecurities and things like that. But if you allow, especially men, to feed that, then yeah, it's going to bring you down. But if you can work on, and that's why we love basketball, it's a microcosm of life. If you can work on those skills now, you'll be successful in the future.
Kristen.
No, I couldn't agree more. It just blows my mind that people, number one, that they have that much time to say some of the ignorant things that they say. I mean, I would love to know if they ever played organized sports, or, I mean, seriously, I can only picture what these people, I won't even go there, but anywho, like what Coach Mock said, like, we just preach, don't pay attention to those people. You know, it's just, we always talk about fighting for that headspace, you know, and that is the most valuable thing you have, is what's going on between your ears. And it's a skill, and it's so precious, and you have to control that narrative, and, you know, just pump it full of positive thoughts, you know, who are we surrounding ourselves with? Are we surrounding ourselves with people that are uplifting, you know, and empower us? And I think it's so sad, because what an unbelievable opportunity, such a cool thing. Once again, like I talked about, little kids now, little girls have such a different hero now. Like, you know, I saw on Twitter, I want to say it was one of the Bears, maybe front office. He posted a picture of his like 8 or 9-year-old daughter, full gear, full uniform Bears, and said, "Daddy, I can really do it now," because she watched it. You know, like that's a win. And I just, who cares what those ignorant, you know, guys are saying? There's a new generation of girls that think now that they can play for the Chicago Bears. Well, maybe a better team, maybe a team that can win a few games. I don't know. I'm a huge Bear fan, so I can say those things. But I don't know. We preach to our kids, you know, you got to fight for that, and value who you listen to, value, you know, social media. It is, sorry, Beckett is trying to put his 2 cents in. We live in a time where there's so much social media, and it can be a positive, but can be the worst thing for student athletes and in all individuals. But you got to be so mindful of what you're going to take in, what you're going to read, because a lot of it is just garbage, and it's not worth your time.
Tiffane.
Yeah, I'm all for tuning out the noise and surrounding yourself with positivity. I agree with what Coach said. A lot of times those people never played a sport in their life. You know, women 9 times out of 10 can do a better job at, you know, certain skills, and are better at certain things because we're more detailed, you know, and we just want it more. We have a lot behind us and in our heads, and we just want it more. And to get that opportunity, I'm glad she was prepared. You know, you have to be prepared, and when it's your time to shine, yeah, don't hold back. So that was super amazing. I still can't believe it. You know, it's like, is she really doing this? But she is. And I have 2 younger nieces who I tell all the time, you can do anything. Like, that's not for boys. And this is not just for girls. I can't stand that. You know, like, yeah, I can do this. I don't need anyone to do this for me. I can do this. So, yeah.
Thank you. As a follow-up to all 3 of you, and Tiffane, will stay with you to start, what kind of positive personal experiences have you each had with men who championed you?
My brothers at a young age. Oh, my brothers. My father, they never let me do anything just to do it or just to get by. Or, you know, they always made me do it right. If I was going to do it and I was going to commit to it, you have to do it right. So good wasn't good enough. And some may not agree with that, but it just instilled in me to strive to be the best. You know, my oldest brother is, basketball is not my thing, but I come from a basketball family. So when I first started out, it was a lot of pressure on me to just, you know, shoot the ball this way. And I'm like, you know, but I'm a girl, I'm not strong enough. No, shoot the ball this way. This is how you do it. So they were pretty hard on me, and it all paid off. At the end, it all paid off. But man, they just really pulled the best out of me in more ways than one. And that's something that I take into coaching or anything, changing a tire, whatever. Like it stays with me to this day. So.
Kristen.
I know after Kobe passed away, the term "girl dad" was coined, but I would challenge that I had a girl dad long before that term came about. My father, he was a basketball coach. He's retired, but I mean, I have an older brother, and I did everything that my brother Mike did. I thought that's what we do. My mom's the real hero because she didn't balk about it. She just let me do. I mean, God forbid. I asked for Jordans for Christmas. I had to have my dad's team shoot. I mean, I was the only girl in 3rd grade that had to have the first pair of Jordans. And thank goodness my parents saved up and bought them for me. And they didn't even, you know, that was just okay for them. My mom wasn't like, why do you want that? But my fondest memories of my childhood are going to my dad's practices and riding the bus on his, with his team. He was a high school coach at the time. And, you know, it was just the norm in sitting and listening to him talk to his coaches. And I sat on the bench in his games. You know, I was the little girl. I always say I was a little girl in Remember the Titans, that was throwing out plays and yelling at players from the stands and whatnot. But that was normal to me. And, you know, my dad made that normal. And it wasn't, you know, I didn't even realize, as silly this is, that I was a girl around all guys. And, you know, I really thought I was going to grow up and play for him. I had no idea that, you know, I was going to have to play for the girls team and whatnot. But, you know, as a coach, he was never hard on me. And this was why I'm so appreciative of my dad and I know my brother would say the same thing. He let us make our own decisions in sports. And, you know, I fell in love with the game of basketball, and I was the quintessential gym rat, and he poured into that, but it was never, hey, you have to do this, you have to do that. You know, he let me know, if you want to be good, these are the things I would suggest. And I kind of ran with it. But I don't know. Every big moment of my sports career, my dad was there, you know. And, you know, my favorite memory is, he found a way on the court in Dayton in 1998 when we upset Connecticut to go to the Final Four. And I'll never forget that hug. And he was just crying. It just, that moment, that will be probably the most precious moment I have with my father, because I know how hard he worked in his career and what the type of dad he was to give me all these opportunities. And it was just all those little moments just culminated into that one big moment. So for me, it was my father.
Amaka, I know you come from a big family.
Huge family. So first I want to say on record that Kristen said she's a Bears fan. But
Hey, coach. Hey, hey, that was a huge win over me.
No,
I'm a Lady Bear fan all but like 2 nights of the year. How about that?
no, I'm a
Maybe
fan.
3 if we see each other in the tournament. How about that?
I'm a fan of yours too. I'm just joking. But yeah, no, I come from a huge family. Obviously, we talked about that before. But I have so many men in my life that have impacted me. My brother's probably, one of my best friends. Probably is my best friend. And growing up, I was always with him. He introduced me to every single sport. So we played soccer, tennis, ran track, football, basketball, did it all. I was always the one girl with my brother, my cousins, and all them. So, it was never, you can't do this because you're a girl. It was always like, oh no, she's good, that kind of thing. So I never really encountered those I guess those roadblocks or barriers with people telling me I couldn't do something, or men telling me that, because it was always like, you better do it. Like that was kind of the way we grew up. And then my dad was that kind of guy too. So I was more challenged, like, to meet standards rather than you can't do it. That's just kind of how we grew up. And then that trickled into my high school coach, who was like a second father to me too. And, one of my biggest supporters still is. And then in today's times, obviously my husband is the biggest supporter in my life. And he just, he thinks that there's no limit to what I could do. He's always pushing me to strive to be better and, just reach new heights. So I actually have been blessed to have men in my life that, recognize that there are no ceilings and that I can, continue to break through barriers.
Kristen, this next question is for you. You said something at Media Day that really stood out to me. And you mentioned that when you were playing for KYAU, you didn't see a ton of coaches who were moms, and that at the time it was unheard of to have a female coach that was a mom and was gay. And so you're a perfect example, because you're married to Britt and you're the mom of Emerson and Beckett.
Yes.
What do you hope to role model for your players?
Man, just for all, like, yes, the intersectionality of my life. Yes, I am a coach and I am a mom and I am a wife and I happen to be gay. There's so many things that make me who I am, but you're right. When I was in college, it was few and far between to see moms. There's a ton of dads in coaching. And then, just the whole shift. But I think it goes back to our society shift of the past couple of years of just being a little bit more accepting. That's something I'm really proud of. It's something that earlier in my coaching career, it was one of those things that you kept, your personal life one place. And, I didn't want it to impact the type of coach I was going to be, or would be used against me in recruiting. And, it was tough, because you give your all to your players and you pour so much in. And I just felt like I wasn't being extremely authentic of who I was. And, I know my heart and I know the character I have. And so I just made that, I wasn't going to separate this anymore. And, I'm just so blessed to work at Illinois State and with President Dietz and Larry Lyons. I mean, one of our core values at Illinois State is diversity. And, they really walk that walk. It's just not talk. And so, they've really empowered me to have my family around, and anyone that goes to our games, well, maybe not this year because of COVID, but, my kids are very visible in our program. My wife is too, they travel. So I just hope that our players or other student athletes, whether at Illinois State or, on the various teams we play, just see a mom, just see a coach, that just like Coach Mox, like, you can do it. You can work really hard. You can have success, but you can also have a family, and it's okay to involve your family. It doesn't have to be either or. You can have a work-life balance. I want to role model that for my assistant coaches. We work really hard, but we try to be smart with how we work. Scott Gillespie on our staff has a little girl. I want Scott to be a really strong father. I want him to be visible, So hopefully, I'm just role modeling that you can do it all. You can be a successful coach. We're trying to get successful. We're not on Coach Mox's level yet. We're trying to get there. We
are successful.
Well, thank you, but we're not at that level yet. We're trying to get there, but and it doesn't matter. Like I really hope our athletes, whoever you choose to love, whoever you choose to marry, that does not take away from the type of parent you could be, the type of person. It doesn't take away from your heart and your character, and hopefully that shines through with my actions on a daily basis.
And Kelly, that's important if I could just say something.
Sure, of course.
Where Kristen just said, she just wants you to see a mom or just see a wife. I think that's like, I'm glad to see that's where we're moving as a society. I don't know if we're all the way there yet, but that's what you should see when you see her, or when you see me, you should see a woman that's a coach. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Black woman, or first Black woman to do this and this and that. Like just a woman that's a coach, and that should just be the visual that we have. Again, I think I'm optimistic in the direction we're moving, but hopefully at some point that's really what people will see.
Okay. No, agreed. And I've told the both of you this, that, one of the things I love most about our league is that there's so many, not only female coaches, but female coaches who are moms. That's one of my favorite parts, is getting to meet all of your kids and get to see your kids when I get to come to shoot-arounds. And obviously this year it'll be a little bit different with the pandemic, so that might not be the case this year, being able to go to shoot-arounds. But it's just so fun to see the antics of the kids and what they're doing, and then watch them grow up too.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I love having obviously my son around, but even our assistants' kids around. Now we haven't really done that as much because of COVID this year. But that's typically, they come to practice, they travel, they, everywhere. I just think it adds just to your family. It makes you let your players know that you're human. They see a different side of you, but also you want to see your kids. We work a lot. You want to see your kid. And my husband at times, but mainly my son. I need to see my son. But no, I'm just kidding. But you want to see your families, and we put a lot of time into this. So I'm just thankful that we can have them travel and be around for sure.
Absolutely. I don't know when I would see them, especially, in a normal year when our travel is very different this year, but I'm just so thankful that I have a wife that can travel, and our kids are young enough, and, it's fun, and it makes the wins a little bit sweeter, and the losses don't hurt quite as much when you see a smile or you get a hug. They don't know if you won or lost. Beckett doesn't care. He just wants to play. And you talk about antics. We have a 2-year-old, so he's a hot mess right now. He is, man, and confined to the house is making it worse. So it might be a good thing he can't go out, because he'd be wreaking havoc at arenas around the valley this year.
Amaka, this next question is for you, and it kind of goes against, you were just talking about, which I agree, that the goal is to get to the point where you're just a coach. We're not looking at you as a Black coach, but the reality is you are the first female head coach that's Black in any sport in Missouri State history, which I'll be honest, when I heard that when you were hired, I was shocked. Like I was just like, how is this even a thing? What kind of responsibility does that carry?
Obviously I don't take that for granted at all. And I have to carry myself in a way that I can impact young people and impact our community, no matter what my skin tone is, but it's magnified because I am the first Black female coach here in any sport. So I honestly, I don't view it as pressure. I just view it as, I have an opportunity and an obligation to impact this community and impact our program, and even just the rest of our athletic department, so they see that women of color can be in these positions and can carry themselves in a professional manner and can run a program and, can get out in the community and affect people and engage with people and things like that. So honestly, I just welcome it. I embrace it. But at the same time, I really don't think about it. I just want to be my true, authentic self and have people like me for me in this community, and just continue to do what I want to do. And the reason why I really coach is the mentorship and the relationship piece with our players. So no matter who I'm coaching, no matter what their background is, I'm always going to be the same person. And I'm happy that I could help open some people's eyes that maybe we're a little bit closed here in this community, or even just in the country, that, women of color can be just as good as any other woman out there.
Mm-hmm. Tiffane, next question is for you. And before we started this, you and I were talking a little bit about your entrepreneurial spirit and this, you've started your own hair product line, which is cool. So we'll be hearing more about that. This summer though, you also received the American Volleyball Coaches Association Diversity Award, which is only given to 26 coaches nationwide. How does that award represent a symbol of possibility for other women out there that look like you?
I'm very honored for that, to receive that award. I had no idea about it. So it just goes to show, like, Black women and people of color are just as intelligent and versed in the sport of volleyball. Volleyball is more so you don't see a lot of us, you know, whether it's on the court or as coaches, you don't see a lot of Black women. You may see an assistant here or there, but at higher levels, for sure, you don't see a lot of us. And it just shows that, how can I say this? Opportunity is there. I thank Leah Johnson for giving me an opportunity and helping me to open doors that weren't offered to me while I was at Allen University as a head coach. It's given me an opportunity to network and meet other people that didn't know my name before this award. So I think those that look like me, younger women, they need to see people that look like them in positions of power, and need to see that stay with it. A lot of us don't decide to coach anymore because we're not getting those opportunities to move forward and advance throughout the game. So stay with it, believe in yourself, and build relationships.
Thank you. 9 of the 10 women's basketball coaches in the Missouri Valley are female, which at 90% is much higher than the 63% who make up all female head coaches in the NCAA. What kind of message is the Missouri Valley Conference sending about how they're valuing women? And Kristen, let's start with you.
I mean, I think we are probably one of the premier mid-major conferences, if not if you look what we did last year, and I think we're on track with what's already happened early on in the season. And I just think it sends a really strong message. I think, you know, the Valley gets it. You know, I love the, you know, empowered women empower women. That's like, and it's so true. And, you know, I think there's a lot to be said. I don't think it's a coincidence that our league has the success that it's having. You know, just going back to what Tiffany said, like, given the opportunity, females can do anything we want, you know, and we can be successful at a really high rate. It's just given that opportunity, you know, and I think that's where the Valley schools have done an outstanding job. They have made the conscious choice of giving women the opportunity to showcase their skill set, to showcase their leadership. And I think in the past couple of years, the 9 women have done an outstanding job in our conference.
Amaka.
I agree. You know, there's not too much to add to that. I think that was said perfectly. And I'm happy to be a part of a conference that does get that and that gives opportunities to women. Obviously, we're coaching a women's sport. Doesn't mean that men can't do a great job. There are a lot of great men in our business, but there's a lot of women that aren't even getting those opportunities because they're being a little bit overshadowed by men. So I just want to see more and more women continue to shine. You know, we're growing and molding young people that are women. So I think that if you have that to look up to, I mean, it's a good thing. And again, I'm not saying anything against men. I just think that, you know, there needs to be more opportunities for women across the board.
Last season, Missouri Valley women's basketball saw a 260% increase in the average number of viewers per event and a 328% increase in the average number of viewers per live digital event on ESPN+. then you throw in the WNBA, also saw growth in their ratings this summer. Their championship series was on ABC. Typically it's on ESPN. This year it was on actual ABC. The National Women's Soccer League saw an almost 500% increase in their ratings. There clearly is an appetite for women's sports. What has to be done to get women's basketball, women's volleyball, and other female sports more coverage? And Tiffane, let's start with you.
I think the fans. I think people should demand more coverage and keep viewing, keep watching, keep retweeting and keep reposting, and just, you know, the amazing things that they watch. We need to just keep feeding it to the media and putting it out there, you know.
Amaka.
Yeah, I mean, I think the more TV coverage we get, the more, you know, social media buzz there is about our sports, the more people are going to view. You know, sometimes people don't know necessarily until they watch, and it's like, wow. And then next thing you know, you gain a fan, you gain a season ticket holder, you gain somebody new. So, I mean, I think each and every coach needs to continue to try and get out in their community. Administration needs to continue to allocate resources and just be able to even the playing field, I guess, a little bit, because, you know, men's basketball dominates. We understand that. You know, football dominates, and a lot of things go there. You know, I'm blessed in a situation, I don't know everybody's situation, where women's basketball matters here and we do get resources, but I've been places where it wasn't the case, you know. So I just think that the more that's allocated to our sports, the more visibility we have, the more fans will attract, and then, I mean, the more our game will grow.
Kristen.
I agree with everything that was said. You know, I mean, we do try to take more of a grassroots approach in our community. But like Coach Mock said, we're fortunate where women's sports, women's basketball, women's volleyball, you know, Illinois State does a great job of making sure we have the money to promote our sports. But the thing is, it's such a great product. And that's the thing. It's just getting it in front of people, you know. Our volleyball team is phenomenal. Holy smokes. But, you know, they have to be on TV. I mean, they need the same coverage as, you know, us or men's, I mean, because outstanding volleyball being played, but it's for all sports too. You know, I just think until, and I think TV is the big key. And I know, okay, people have to watch it, but if it's on enough, and because the product is there, you know, maybe in the past, maybe the product hasn't been there, but if you look at the level of being played across the country in volleyball, basketball, it's exciting. You know, I know in basketball, it's not as exciting as, but the level of athleticism, the game has shifted. I mean, okay, we're not quite playing above the rim, but it's pretty darn good basketball. So I think for the men who, if they will stop and watch, you know, I think they will be pleased. I mean, with what happened in the WNBA, I mean, just that level, it's pretty phenomenal what's going on. So I just think we have to get on TV. We have to somehow, some way to continue to get on TV, but then it trickles down, you know, now the highlights are on Twitter. So now someone's scrolling through and they see something, you know, maybe they'll be more likely to turn on ESPN or you know, your local channel to watch a game.
And I also think what has helped at the professional level, at least, but even in the collegiate realms, is the people that have the most followers, or the NBA players or celebrities. They're now bringing awareness to, you know, women's basketball, different sports, soccer. You know, you see more of people trying to get other people to watch female sports. So I think that helps too, because if you see LeBron James tweeting about, you know, a WNBA game or even a collegiate game, his fans are going to be like, oh, well, maybe I'll tune into that, you know, or maybe they won't, but it doesn't hurt, you know. And I think that's what helped the WNBA, because so many NBA players were promoting their season this past summer, and I think it really helped them.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, Kobe comes to mind, you know, with the way the Oregon basketball team, Sabrina Ionescu, and the friendship he had with her, and LeBron James, and all the NBA players of the summer that wore the orange hoodie that became a big thing for the WNBA. So that's all super important. It's interesting because I have a friend who's a male, and he's a big champion of women and women's sports. And he made an interesting point to me the other day is he said, why is it that even on the ticker on ESPN that has a little score across the bottom of it, you know, they put all the scores for basketball, for example, and he said they'll put mid-major men's basketball, but they don't put mid-major women's basketball. Like, why not? Like, there's people that want to know those scores. And so it's just even little things like that have to change.
I mean, it's the same in the newspaper. I mean, it's every avenue of media coverage. You know, you can get every score of a men's game, you know, Northwest Washington State versus so-and-so. But, you know, unless it's a top 25 matchup, you're probably not going to see a score, whether you go online, unless you go to the ESPN app and all scores. And if you're actively searching, if you have a vested interest. And, you know, until that changes, it's just, there's so many little nuances that I think the common sports fan don't even notice, because you're so conditioned to, yeah, on the ticker, you're watching ESPN, you'll see most of the men's scores roll across. And then unless, you know, there's a couple, you know, top 25 games that of note, that's the only scores you're going to see of women's basketball.
Mm-hmm. Recently, the Yankees hired Kim Ng as the first female GM in Major League Baseball, and it turns out she's the first in all of pro sports. We talked about Kamala Harris, and she'll make history officially in January as the first woman and first woman of color as vice president when she's sworn in January. Even today, why are examples like Kim Ng and like Kamala Harris, females who are in exclusively male roles in the past, so important for women to see? And Amaka, let's start with you.
I mean, representation matters, you know. If you can see somebody in that position, and you can aspire to it. But if you just continuously seeing men, yeah, it can be a goal, it can be a dream, but, you know, it doesn't really become like a realistic goal or dream. Like, I just remember growing up, I love the NBA, and I used to watch NBA with my brother, and I used to, be the first woman in the NBA. We always, you know, I'm sure everybody has said that. And then when the WNBA came around, it was like, what? Like, there's a WNBA, you know, and it was just such a huge deal. I just remember the first game. I just remember when WNBA started, and it was such a huge deal. And I was in high school, I believe. And it was like, wow. So now there's something to aspire. Like, now I can be a professional women's basketball player in the United States, you know? Well, I mean, you had the other leagues, but, you know, to be in the WNBA would be equivalent to being in the NBA. So I just think that if you can see a vice president that's a woman, or you can see a GM, or you can see, then it's like, okay, well, I really do want to do this. And somebody's done it, you know, or there's always room to be the first, you know, you can be the first, but it just becomes more realistic when you see people representing, you know, your gender.
Tiffane.
Yeah, I agree with that. Representation matters in every aspect, and it does open doors, and you feel more empowered to go after it. You know, if you don't see it, it's kind of like you doubt yourself. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I should. I don't know if I will be welcomed. But to see that, it's amazing. And I love it for the younger generation. You know, I'm an adult now, but for my nieces, you know, I have examples to present to them. Like, look what you can do. Things are changing. Your future's bright. Go for it. You can do anything. Go for it.
Kristen.
These ladies are stealing all my thunder. But I mean, the representation piece, that is the biggest. I'm so excited, you know, because my daughter is 3 months old and her brother's 2 years older than her. But like, as my hope is, you know, 5 or 6 years down the road, when they're a little bit more aware that, you know, the things Beckett thinks are cool or wants to do, that Emerson sees the same thing and sees more women. And, you know, that to me, I hope we don't have to be so intentional of the things we expose Emerson to, just to make sure, hey, you know, you can do these things, that it's just a little bit more normal, so to speak, of seeing women GMs, or, women playing college football. I mean, how cool is it? Like we talked about, it's so cool. So that is my greatest hope. I know we have a ways to go, but I think we are slowly moving in the right direction.
Thank you to all three of you for being here today, and just the tremendous examples you all are, not only for fellow females, but for your teams and for your communities out there. And so before we go, I'll just give each of you an opportunity, any closing things that you want to say. And Tiffane, let's start with you.
Again, thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts and feelings and shine some light on Redbird volleyball. we are amazing, you know, and I'm so happy to be a part of that program. I think this is really big for me. You know, I've never experienced anything like this with 2 other amazing coaches, even though I have coached for a while and was a head coach for a while. This was fun. I'm feeling more inspired and empowered now after this, and just chatting it up with everyone. Like, I'm refreshed. I'm ready to go. I'm ready for season. So thank you. Thank you all for this.
Thank you, Tiffane. Amaka.
I appreciate this as well. Again, like we say, representation matters, and, you know, having women come on and talk about these, you know, things going on in society or just in our game, in our sport, I think it's going to help people. And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. So I'm just happy to be a part of this. I wish everybody the best of luck in their seasons. And, you know, just for the empowerment piece, I just want people to believe in themselves and don't ever doubt yourself. Don't let people tell you can't do anything, and just go be great.
Kristen.
No, I appreciate the Valley for valuing, you know, moments like these and being intentional to put podcasts together like this with such a phenomenal panel. You 3, that is. I don't know how I snuck into this one, but thank you for the invite. You know, for me, I know I'm a lifelong learner, and I think I learned a lot from listening to both coaches, you know, especially with early on with the racial piece. And, you know, I want to be the best version of myself that I can be. And I know I don't have all the answers. And, you know, I think every conversation we have, whether it's from basketball or we're talking about social injustices or being moms, I think you learn something. You pick up little pieces along the way. And I think that's what I love the most about this. I learned something today. I learned something from each one of you guys. And I know that, you know, after we get off this, I'm a little bit better off for it. You know, I'll be maybe a better parent, a better coach, just a better human being. And, you know, I think at the end, that's what we all strive for.
Thanks
Agreed.
again.
Agreed.
Yes.
Thank you again, and look forward. I got my Valley schedule officially yesterday, so I'm excited to call all of your games. This, you know, I have games at each one of your places this year, so looking forward to that. And I'll just close with I'll steal a line from Jack Watkins when he writes in his email, "Stay positive, test negative."